Welcome back to another TradeOut's technical analysis. In this video, I'm going to be going over some recent Bitcoin price action. And in the second half of the video, I'm going to be talking about some trading bot updates that I've been giving, kind of my thoughts behind what's going on with those. So let's get to the charts. So first off, I want to apologize. My microphone set up and I'm actually traveling. I'm in Hawaii right now, so I'm not sitting in my office where I usually shoot these videos. So I apologize if the audio quality isn't what it usually is, but I'm going to start off here with, for those of you who are in Discord, I think by now you know that I have my own technical analysis room that only I can post in, where I kind of share my thoughts about what I'm doing and kind of what I'm seeing as far as Bitcoin goes, altcoins, and trading bots specifically. But there's a setup that I kind of gave that I kind of wanted to talk you through on what exactly, why I thought that this setup could be a really nice bounce zone. So I kind of gave it here, and that would have been yesterday morning. You can see Bitcoin was sitting at $36,747, and I sent this out. I was really looking to take this current or this low at the time, which is exactly at $35,000. We can see we have the golden pocket sitting here, which is your 618. I was thinking we could come into the golden pocket and swing fill this $35,000 key level that I had put on this chart. And you also had an hourly that was lining up right with the 6.6 right here at $34,100 basically. So I thought it was a pretty good opportunity for us to come down here and put in a bit of a bounce. If we kind of knife through these levels and really hung out below these, and I was gonna, that would be a little bit more on the bearish side, I guess you could say. But, again, this is kind of what I was looking for. And I posted this, I guess it's yesterday now, yesterday afternoon. And you can see that we actually got the wick through, but we did end up swing fill. So here's your key level, right? So we did end up closing above it. Giving a really nice, if you had bids sitting here, really nice opportunity, really easy to manage trade, and really looking for some further upside. And I had also said here, if you had happened to take the long of that zone retest, definitely doesn't hurt to take some profit here, and you could put a stop at break even, so wherever your entry was. So whether you were sitting here in this zone, whatever your entry would have been, it's you basically make it a risk-free trade. That way, even if it comes back down to stop you out, then you at least took some profit on your trade. The rest of it, if you had stop out at break even, it is what it is, but you would have made money. So that would have been a really nice one. So yeah, just kind of wanted to talk you through that. And then as far as that looks on the chart here. So again, you can see this wick came through, took out, you basically came through your hourly level here, which isn't a big deal, but you got a really nice buyback and a nice push up. So even from this wick low, you're looking at almost a 14% bounce. That's a really nice bounce. Definitely playable, especially if you're trading, leverage at all. Which, even 14% you don't need to, but if you were leveraged on that, you could, obviously would have done really well. Excuse me for a second while I need to actually plug in my battery. So give me just a second. Okay, sorry, I had to plug in a computer there. But anyway, you got a really nice 14% bounce off of that low. Even if you took it, from wherever you would have entered, you still double-digit bounce there. Really nice opportunity. And currently you're finding resistance in this zone that I've kind of created here, which is basically this low, which that low is $38,133. You got your push off, and then you got your flush through this wick low here. But you can see that you ended up actually kind of back testing it as resistance. You get your push down, which was a really nice long entry there, taking out this low and getting this buyback. But you come right back up into the same zone of resistance here, which is basically, high 37K, 37.38, or 37.8 to 38.1, something like that. But basically, there's just a bit of resistance right here. Got another pushback. As it currently stands, you're getting some buying stepping in here in around 36,000. So really kind of what you don't want to see, and kind of why, like for myself, put a stop at break even here. I really do not want to see this low get taken out, because there's really no reason. I mean, I don't want to say that there's no reason for the low to get taken out, but if it did, for me, that would be a bit more bearish, and we could definitely see deeper levels. So if you're in a winning trade, you take profit, at least take part of your position off and put your stop loss at break even, becomes a risk-free trade. That way, if you do come back and have another flush to the downside, you really don't want to see a winning trade turn into a losing trade like that. There's really no reason for that in this scenario. And essentially, like how I look to play these trades is kind of exactly what I discussed. There's just no reason to let it turn into a losing trade. And we very well could come back down, take these lows, and maybe head to $32,000 before another little bit of a bounce there. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I'm just saying like with that being a possibility, there's just no reason for this to turn into a losing trade. But I do think, so like you have your, for me, the invalidation is taking out this low, which is currently at 33,463. So I mean, really, if you take that low, I would look for another couple $1,000 move to the downside before maybe putting in another big bounce. Because I really don't. I barring some kind of, we've kind of had a lot of FUD circulating lately. Barring just kind of like really damaging news, I don't really see us taking this a low out, this week or anything like that. I guess it's it's kind of the end of the week. We'll have to see what happens at a weekly close, but I really think that this is a pretty good low for the time being. But obviously, again, taking out this wick low here that we made yesterday would lead me, I think we'd get another couple $1,000 move to the downside possibly before we get another bounce. But really, what I'd be looking for is to reclaim this current resistance. We can push through it, reclaim it as support. I do think that we can bounce back up to around $42,000 again. And, we're kind of putting in this range on the hourly chart here. And there's, this is something that really could continue. Like we could see this continue to range for the next few days, who knows? But basically we're kind of sitting right here in the middle. So, if you're a bull, you really want to see this red zone kind of reclaimed as support before I think we can continue back up to around 42,000. Or really, if you take out this low right here, that's kind of your downside move. So that's, as far as immediate Bitcoin price action, that's essentially what I would be looking for. And you're sitting right in between that. So as it stands, I would rather wait for one side or the other. And now, if you missed out on this opportunity, there's really nothing that's, for me at least, that's sitting right where we're currently at. So I kind of wait for a lower test, see what happens, or kind of come up here and play this, if I wasn't in a position already. So that's short-term Bitcoin price action, kind of what I'm looking at. So this is Bitcoin on the daily. I'm actually going to close this because look at this sea of red, right? Alter getting, absolutely hammered yet again. And I will talk about that here in a little bit. I'm actually close this because this is a bit depressing. Kind of what I'm going to talk about. So this is over in Discord. Let me find my post. Oh, right here. So yeah, this is literally the post that I shared. I guess it's yesterday now. But I basically wanted to give an update about kind of what I thought about the market, and kind of like how I've played it myself recently. And basically in this room, like you can see everything historically. Like I talk about, particular levels of interest to me, kind of walk through price action, and I try to be, I'd be a bit more open and communicative with everybody in Discord, and that way they have an opportunity, because a lot of times, in Discord or Telegram, you post something and it gets washed out, and then you have to go up to the search bar and search my name, if you're interested in what I'm doing. So I really wanted to create this room and, to kind of like make there an easy place for people to kind of keep tabs on what I'm doing and what I'm thinking. But here at the bottom, again, you guys who are in Discord can read these thoughts. I really wasn't too happy with how I traded recently because there was a lot of signs, and I really wanted to walk you through what those signs were and kind of what they were telling us as far as Ichimoku goes. And there were some signals there that I ignored because I had maybe a more bullish bias than I maybe should have, if I was really trading it how I should have traded. So I kind of want to walk you through the difference, and as far as maybe me kind of re-explaining how the signals that I missed, that could be good for myself as well. So I want to go on this chart. So this is the daily time frame. So before I walk you through current price action, I don't want to say current, but like within the last few months of price action, I want to actually take you back to where, like, to give you the full picture of, yet again, like, why I really do like Ichimoku. But Ichimoku is very much its own system to a degree. Like, it has a set of, I'm gonna say it has like a set of rules that you play, but there's very clear cut entries and exits, and kind of it's phenomenal in trends, absolutely phenomenal in trends. And like, you're almost never going to catch the bottom. You're never or almost never going to catch the top. But if you can get 65, 70, 75% of that trend, which I'm about to show you, you can do incredibly well. So I will go back to show you where this entry actually was. And for those of you who have been in, it's really kind of the OGs in Discord who would know this. But back here, let me remember how to do this here because I'm on my laptop. So back here in October, this really was like this signal that fired here was very bullish to myself. And this is where I got really excited about the potential for a really big move on Bitcoin price action. Now, obviously, like, we had the March 2020 low, and we've really been running since March. That's the thing, since March 2020, we've really been like, that was our reversal point, and it's been basically up since March. So you could almost argue, like, we've had a tremendous move, the last several months, but it's really been over a year now that we've been trending up. So that is something to kind of think about, I guess you could say. But like, having a pullback like we're having again it's not surprising, like, considering the amount of up that we've had, but the swiftness of it is a little concerning, to be honest. And like, there's, I guess I should just walk you through kind of what I'm seeing. So, excuse me one second, reset this up here. So it's really right here is like, this is like a very, and I'll just use this point because this is literally the point where I got heavily long, because this is the signal that you wait for, right? So basically, going back to here, a bullish TK cross, price moved up, long consolidation here. You see it was kind of a long consolidation. Same signal here. You got your bullish TK cross above cloud, nice push up. But really, you can see how, once price kind of made its way, it really used the cloud as support before you got another push. And you move into this price action here in September. So we actually lost the cloud, but we consolidated inside a cloud, grinded up as resistance. You see, again, the Kumo, very well respected before you got to move to the downside. More consolidation within the cloud before you got your push out of it, which this is the move that's very interesting to me. And I was very excited to have the opportunity to trade this. But it's really right here on October 17th. So on October 17th, what happened was price obviously is above cloud, but you got your bullish TK recross above cloud, right? So cloud was bullish. You got your bullish TK recross, so your blue Tenkan bullishly cross your yellow Kijun here, and then move, it was literally just like this. To me, is the start. It's like the start of this next trend, like trending move, okay? And if you look, you can barely even see it now. And look what happened, right? I'll just try to zoom out, make it easier. But this is your, it literally kept you in the trade the entire way up. So you were long this entire way. So had you, just from that entry alone, which, what did I say? October 17th, Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to go back. I mean, this is important though. Let me at least mark this correctly. So it would have been the close of October 17th, right about here. I'm just gonna kind of zoom out here so you can see. And again, obviously I'm gonna be measuring the very top. You're not gonna have caught the very top. Very, like more than likely not. But just to show you like the type of move that you got from this signal. $53,000 move. So 473% increase, but you literally got over $53,000. And if you had played, if you were trading the daily Ichimoku, you wouldn't have got stopped out. Like you got your Kijun retest, so you got your mean reversions, which these are even compounding opportunities. This is a chance you get even longer, right? So you got your entry back here, price roll the Tenkin all the way up. Really nice support. And then you get your mean reversion play. So this was back in January. Two really good opportunities here. You literally were sitting right on Kijun. You're right back to your, you got your mean reversion right back equilibrium. Another really good opportunity to compound or take a long if you weren't in a position, because the uptrend, this is still very much bullish. You got another huge move up. So even if you just took this retest up to the top, that's 100% move, $29,000 move. You literally doubled. Just from this, just from your equilibrium test here. Kijun retest, boom, another nice move. Then what happens again? Well, you come down right here. Sorry, right here, another perfect test. So I guess I could put an arrow in to kind of help out. So this is what I'm talking about. Right there, beautiful test before you push up to your all-time high. Now, this is where things get messy, I guess you could say. Like this is where your exit really should have been. And it's here so it's not like, for me, I did videos here. We got our closure in cloud. Like that's a bit concerning, obviously. Like, and kind of what that tells you is, like when you start getting closures in cloud, like you're looking, naturally you still were bullishly crossed. So for me, like there's no real trade here, but this is kind of warning sign number one. And the biggest issue that I had with this back here in April is that this is a change of behavior. So if you zoom out, since your entry, I think it was October 17th, I believe was your entry. If I should let me just put a horizontal there just so you can see. There. So this purple line right here, this is your entry. So since your entry, you haven't had any business with the cloud whatsoever. You're very bullishly trending this entire time. So for me, when you move over here and you get your first test of the cloud, you actually get your closure inside the cloud. That's a problem because this hasn't happened the entire time that you've been up in this trend, essentially, and since the $11,300 long. So that's like a warning sign that says, hey, like things, at the minimum, like we could be consolidating. We could, like things are slowing down, essentially. Like the trend is definitely slowed, if not even potentially stopped. But then on this day, April 26th, you got a really big, nice bounce out of this. And I was thinking, okay, like there's a possibility that price could actually push back up and resume. Like this was a really nice reaction off of these levels. But then this is the signal that I ignored. And again, like this is kind of what, like this is, I would say it's a learning moment, because like I knew that this had happened, but I think like this is kind of where, like, if you have a system, or if you're trading a system, you have to trade the system and not how you feel, right? So like I think I probably had a bit more bullishness in me than maybe I should have. I wasn't being as objective as I should have been, considering the signals that I had been seeing. So again, here, April 25th, you got your closure inside a cloud, kind of telling you, hey, like this is a bit of a warning sign, change of behavior. This hasn't happened on this entire uptrend, right? So like something to think about. You get your push out, but then you still get your bearish TK cross. So this is, you know, granted, it's above cloud. Cloud was very much still bullish, but this is telling you, hey, probably a good time to take some off the table. And I didn't do that where I should have. So that bothers me because it was literally telling you know, what was this, earlier this month? It would have been May, let me get this right. So I need to pull this back down. So you got your bearish TK cross. It was May 4th. So May 4th was really telling you, hey, like, you know, maybe a good opportunity to take some profits, essentially, because this has been a hell of a run. And like you're getting a bearish TK cross. So basically, you know, at the minimum, momentum has slowed enough for that to happen. And, you know, I remember pretty clearly back here, I was saying, listen, like, so we got a bearish TK cross, but, you know, kind of like, and I was giving a bearish scenario and a bullish scenario, which I'll talk about the bearish scenario that ended up happening. But the bullish scenario and kind of what I was hoping for was a bullish, you know, a recross above cloud, just like the $11,300 signal gave. And, you know, typically when you get those, you're good. You know, I was looking for probably 75, 80,000 at least, to be honest. But what happened instead was a very clear cut play that I have talked about countless times. Again, for those, especially the OGs, are well aware of this setup, but it's basically your edge to edge trade. And that was given. And this was something that I had talked about in Discord. I'm going to zoom in and kind of talk you through that a bit. But it was right here on May 12th. So what happened was you got your closure, you got another closure back inside of cloud. So here on April 25th, you obviously got your closure inside of cloud, but you were still bullishly crossed. So there's no short trade here. And thankfully, you didn't go short, or hopefully not, because you would have got absolutely manhandled on that trade if that's, you know, like that's why this isn't a short trade. But this is a warning sign though, right? This is a warning sign. Now, this candle, this long red candle right here on May 12th, this is your short entry. I didn't take this right here like I should have, which I ended up taking a short, which I'll get to in a second, but I didn't like, typically when you get this signal, that's your entry trigger. You got your bearish TK cross, price closes inside a cloud, this purple line right here, your Chiku span below price. Like those are your three entries. Like if all those check off, you're very much looking for a short right here, and you're taking it to the opposite edge of the cloud. And you can go back and look. I talked about this in previous videos. Like this is exactly what I would have expected to happen. But again, for me, the risk reward isn't very good on this trade. So I didn't even take this trade because look how big this candle was, right? Like had the candle confirmed maybe around 53,000, you know, like I'll just put a horizontal. I'll put a horizontal where I would have liked to. I guess I should just do a array. Right around here, so this blue line going across is really like, I would have liked to have had this opportunity. Now, obviously, nothing's ever going to play out perfectly, very rarely. But this is a very easy to manage trade, right? So let's say the candle closed here, kind of right where my pointer is, around 53,250, let's just say. You got your closure inside a cloud. Your Tenkan and your Kijun, your cloud, everything's very close by. So your invalidation would be close by, right? You don't have to risk a lot in order to see if you're right or not. With your candle closing way down here at 49.6, your invalidation is deep. So you see your risk reward here. So like I'll do this just to kind of give you an example. So let's say your short trade was here, right? Because that is exactly where your short trade was. You're looking for the opposite edge of this cloud, which really, like, I wouldn't be targeting, or, you know, I would be looking for a flat spot here, kind of like a more flat spot where we ended up actually touching. I wouldn't be gunning for like the deepest part of the cloud here. So really, like my target would be something like this. So I mean, 11%, right? But your stop loss, where you're wrong on this trade, it's really going to be at least behind Kijun, but it's behind Cloud, at least, right? So like there's other things that you can do, which I'm actually going to go over in the modules once they get uploaded. But really, you can see it. I don't even need to make this perfect. Your risk reward is terrible. You're risking more than your possible like profit is on this. Now, obviously, I went deeper, right? But for this specific trade setup and the target that I would have been targeting, which ended up hitting, the risk reward wasn't there for this short. So I really would have liked to take it higher. So that's this specific edge to edge trade that I had discussed in previous videos in the Discord. So I didn't, here's your close here. Didn't play that as well as I should have. Like, didn't pay as much attention to that as I should have, I guess I should say. And certainly right here. So this bearish TK cross, that's your sign to say, hey, listen, like probably a good opportunity to take profits here. Because if you end up getting your signal, your bullish TK recross above Cloud, the signal that I was looking at, you can just jump right back in. And odds are you wouldn't have lost, you wouldn't have really lost too much percentage in order to at least like to wait for confirmation, if that makes sense. Like you could have taken your profits off the table, which is never a bad idea, especially after a run like we had. But again, if you get another bullish signal that says like absolutely enter in, like let's size up for this trade, you likely wouldn't have been risking much to get back in the game, right? But I ignored this. I would say I ignored it. I knew it happened, but I didn't react like I should have, right? This is like your kind of like signaling possibly the end of trend on this time frame, right? Which a daily time frame is no joke. That's a pretty decent, like in crypto, daily time frame is trading pretty high time frame, I would say. Obviously like weekly time frames are, I would say that's more higher time frame. Daily's certainly worthy of, I would say, intermediate or like medium time frame for sure. Like it's high enough to like if you're entering the daily time, like I'll just go back just real quickly. So here's your entry. So there's your entry on October 17th, and here is your trend signal change. Essentially, it's almost 200 days that you're in a trade. You literally could have long-term walked away for 200 days and then exited. Like that's a long enough trend, and phenomenal exit, right? So like, let's just do that just for fun. Now, obviously this is probably going to really irritate me, but let me go back here just for a second. And I apologize for those of you who really don't want to see this, but I think it's worth doing just to kind of teach you, sometimes like you don't have to worry about trying to catch every single move. If you caught this trend, which just was clear as day entry, phenomenal opportunity, phenomenal risk reward. If you just take one of these trades, you're done. You know what I mean? You just need one trade like this and you're done and you're good. If you can just spot this. So like going all the way back, even if you exit at the worst possible place, right? Let me make sure I get this right. So it's May 4th. So if you exit at the worst possible place, which this would have been your confirmation of a bearish TK cross, you're up 369%. So this is literally the entry trigger and the exit trigger right here. It's clear as day. You're up almost $42,000 per Bitcoin. Not bad. Like that's why, I would say, it's not a good exercise to get frustrated. And I'm, to be honest, like I'm a little frustrated that I didn't trade this like I knew I should have, right? But at the end of the day, lesson learned, you move on. It doesn't make sense to dwell on it at all, right? Like as a trader, you're not going to win them all. You're not going to make the best decisions all the time. And that's something that, though over time you learn to trust. You have your statistics you keep, you have your trading journals you keep, And believe me, this one's definitely going in the trading journal, right? Like I missed this opportunity because I was, I'm not going to make excuses. I've been very busy working on a lot of other things, been very busy. But at the end of the day, when you're trading on a trend like this, a time frame like a daily time frame, you don't like this was here. I saw it. It's not because I didn't see it. It's because I didn't react to it like I knew I should have, right? But anyway, just like give you a little bit of a little bit of a lesson when it comes to Ichimoku. Why I love it: phenomenal for trends, terrible in consolidations, which I think we're about to find out, to be honest, and maybe not on the not necessarily on the daily time frame, hopefully, but on lower time frames for sure. You're going to be seeing that. So I talked about the bearish TK cross, edge to edge trade, and you even broke below. So like this is where things honestly get kind of bad, right? And this is, so on a daily time frame, it's not a small time frame. So I talked about the bearish TK cross, price closes inside. So again, the risk reward for this trade, terrible. I did take a short from 51. It wasn't because of the daily cloud. It was for a completely different setup. But I even closed that early because for those of you in Discord again and on previous videos, you would have known that I had a green box that was sitting right here. And I got the exact kind of area that I was looking for as far as potential support. I think, we got like a 6 or 7% bounce off of that, which again, it was a nice, it was a nice trade. It was a nice scalp. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the reversal like I was really hoping to see at that level, right? So I had a nice short here. I cut it too early because I was looking to flip long here because again, I had a bullish bias, right? I was like very much, like I was I was bullish at the time. I don't know what else to say, right? So I did trade this, okay, but obviously in hindsight, looking at what happened, I cut it too early, right? I didn't let price kind of push me out of the trade, essentially. A lot of times, like what I typically like to do is, and like I honestly need more accounts, but I like to I really should have let the trade run. It's kind of what I'm saying. So like if it hits my take profit, I could have put my stop loss at entry or wherever the invalidation would have been for that trade and just let it run. If it stops me out, it stops me out, right? Because like I could have taken a long trade on a different account to try to catch that and kind of like see, like I could have gone back to close it short if I needed to or whatever. Like I should have just left it, right? And, it is what it is. But I was looking for the bounce here. We got a bounce, but it definitely wasn't the bounce I was looking for. Continued to show weakness. And then this happened. So May 18th, right here, closure below cloud. Now that's bad for a lot of reasons. It's bad because you obviously have a bearish CK cross. It's bad because you're closing below the cloud now. And now you're adding kind of the dagger, right? Which is this right here. And I'm going to circle this for you because this is very important. Right there. Now your cloud is bearish, right? And I don't think it happened. Yeah, it hadn't quite happened yet. So like your cloud wasn't bearish yet on the 18th. It certainly went bearish on the 19th though. When this candle closed, that's when you got this sharp move down and you got your closure. Like this was obviously like the end of this trend completely, right? Now you're bear mode. So that's the thing that as we move forward, right? Ichimoku's telling you right now, like if you look at this chart, that's again a beauty of Ichimoku, of why I like it, is because I can look at this chart and in 2 seconds tell you this is a bearish chart. Now, does that mean that we're going to just continue lower? Not necessarily. But as it stands, if you're a bull, you got a lot of work to do. That's kind of what this chart is saying. So this is a bearish chart. You have your bearish TK cross, price is below cloud, and your cloud's bearish. So this is not good. But kind of what I think, and this kind of gets into like more macro, I would say like macro high time frame thinking, like what do I think is happening? I think that this is signaling to me that Like, do I think that we're just going to V reversal out of here and go to new all-time highs? No, I don't think that, especially now. But what I do think, and I've been talking about this for a little while, past few weeks at least, is I do think, especially like you look at this long consolidation that we had here, right? So like this was a pretty long consolidation. And really like, if we come back and we took out, we take out this low at 42K and bounce kind of where I was thinking of, like this was my thesis essentially. Like I wanted to see this low get taken and then put in another bounce back up to the top of the range, right? Like we could be ranging for months. So that was kind of like my initial thesis on what I thought was going to happen. Now that we've had this flush out, which to me it was, the more that I think about it, it's warranted. Like the amount of bullishness in this market was, it was incredible, right? I mean, you look at all of the crazy projects that are coming out, Safe Moon, Kishu Inu, all stuff like that. That was just flying. People are just throwing money at it, making tons of money. Like the market got really stupid, right? Stupid money was flooding into the market and getting it right, which happens from time to time. But is that something that's sustainable long term? Hell no, it's not sustainable. Like that's the thing about markets is that not everybody can win. For every for every trade, like there's two people on the side of it, right? Not everybody can win. Like, again, you look at the crazy run that we just had. You look at all the altcoins were absolutely on fire. People talking about $1,000 Litecoin, talking about like everything was going to all-time highs. It was like I don't want to say it's euphoric because I don't want to say it like I think this run's completely over or anything like that. But let's say there was a lot of everybody was very bullish on the market, I guess you could say. So this flush that happened, is it the end of the world? No, I don't think it's the end of the world. And to be honest with you, like I still think that we're gonna push for another new all-time high. I think it's happening. But I'll tell you, like, defending this 30K, well, I guess we technically came down to 29. What was it? 29.8. Exactly. Bouncing where we did here is very important in my opinion because I really did not want to lose this level. This is a pretty important level, I'm not going to lie, in my opinion. Very important. This is literally the low, the low of this consolidation that we had in January. I was saying consolidation, but we had your spike up and we came back and based off of the Kijun, right? Like put in a pretty good range for this. This was really, really good trading here. I was very happy with this January market. Very good trading here. But the fact that we came back down this deep, this quick, I mean, obviously it scared a lot of people, but defending this area was very important to me. So like the fact that that happened, at least on first pass, it's really good. And I do think, I'm looking for this to push up, I would say. Like I'm looking for this to push higher. Does that mean we're going to do it today? No. But I do think we're going to, I think we come back and test 40, let's say like 45, 47K, like somewhere up here. I do think that we're going to, hopefully put in a consolidation here, test up some higher levels before we make a decision. I think it's going to be defended. I think this level is going to be defended quite well. There's quite a bit of, like, there's some pretty insane resistance above us right now, which I know this video is getting kind of long. I still want to talk about trading bots, so I think I'll do that tomorrow. I'm in a different video to kind of break it down a bit. If we lose this low, I think the odds of coming down here just to like swing failure this lows before and try to push it again, maybe if we did that, we would get another, maybe like a pretty decent bounce off of that. But I don't think that would be very bullish, to be honest with you. I think if we lost this low, that would be like you're looking mid 20K, I think 24, 25. Really, I guess the zone, again, I'll probably talk about this in a different video, but I think the initial zone support below, I want to say, I think it was 25. And I'll just show you. We'll do that really quick because I do want to get into trading bots. There's one very, very big level that I'm looking at. So here's your March coronavirus crash, March 13th. Man, that's a day right there. To your current all-time high. Okay, so you got your wick low, coronavirus bottom, current all-time high. You know where I'm going with this. For those of you who've been following me anyway. Oh, by the way, I'm over 10,000 subscribers. I can't believe I even like forgot to say that. Thank you so much to everybody who's on YouTube. I really appreciate that. Like that's like I just started this channel a few months ago. You know, just big thank you to everybody who's here right now. This is the zone that I think is critical. I think it's very important. I think that we probably get a really nice initial reaction off of this. Now, like I need to go and look a bit deeper into the charts and see like what other confluences there are around here, because like this isn't really enough, you know, to get me super excited. But this is such a big pull, like a Fibonacci pull. It's such a big, you know, it's literally your all. I mean, it's not all-time low, but it's like it's your macro swing low to your current all-time high. I do think this zone gets defended. So basically, it's 24. Let me zoom in for everybody so you can see. I guess that doesn't work that way. It's 24.5 to 27K, basically. So this, to me, if we take out this low, likely come down another few $1,000s. This is gonna, like, if this happened though, this is gonna devastate altcoins. I think like you think altcoins are devastated now. If this low gets taken and we come back to mid 20K, I mean altcoins are gonna be absolutely destroyed. Which leads me into my next topic, which is trading bots. Okay, so again, to wrap this up, I talked about Ichimoku. I talked about the signals that were there in front of me, in front of us. And as I go into the Ichimoku modules, I just want you to learn now, though, like if you're going to trade using Ichimoku, you really have to respect what the chart's telling you, right? If you're going to, and I'll tell you this right now. I think there are a lot of trading ideas out there, right? Like trading philosophies, indicators, whatnot. I think that if you just stuck to it and you traded it how it's meant to be traded, you probably would be fine trading, you know, different, I guess you could say like different styles. I think you'd be fine. The problem is when you bring emotion, human emotion, and like I won't even say it's like interpretation, but when you bring in human emotion really, and you start overthinking things, and you start saying, well, I think or I feel the market is bullish or bearish, right? And then you start kind of spinning your analysis on it. That's where things get cloudy. That's where things get uncertain, I guess you could say, right? And I think that's why people lose money, to be honest with you. But, you know, for Ichimoku purposes, it was very clear in hindsight, which everything's always 2020 in hindsight. So like a lot of people don't like to talk about hindsight trading because it's, you know, people think, well, it happened already, so there's nothing you can do about it. I think the purpose of the exercise though, yeah, you can't do anything about it now, but you can do something about it the next time you see that. Like that's something that you should learn from, right? The signal was there. Like I had at 11.3, I was incredibly bullish. That told me what I needed to get like really excited, right? So I took that signal perfectly. And I was very happy, did very well. But when it told me to exit, you have to think like, why didn't I take that with the same seriousness as I did the entry? And I think it's hard, again, like when things are incredibly bullish, your portfolio is like up, you know, we talk about this, our whole portfolio is at all-time high again, like made a ton of money. It's like there's something in your brain that doesn't allow you sometimes to make, you know, like to even like I've been trading for quite a while. And I guess kind of why I want to open up to you about this is because I want you guys to understand as well. This happens to a lot of people. It's like, you know, don't let people on crypto Twitter fool you. People who want to act like they're perfect traders, even phenomenal traders, which there are some really good traders on crypto Twitter. I'm not going to like shit talk everybody, but like there are some good traders for sure. They make mistakes too. Everybody does. even professionals, like professionals aren't perfect. They make mistakes. Sometimes they overthink, whatever it is, right? But not everybody's perfect. I just wanted to show you an example where I knew I should have done something and the chart was telling me to, but for whatever reason, I didn't do it like how I should have. I didn't trade it how I should have. I talk about it on stream, but I didn't take it like I should have. So like that's a lesson. So anyway, I kind of want to like pass that along. So probably kind of really deep in this video. For those of you who are still here, thank you very much. Thank you again for the 10K subscribers. That's phenomenal. I really appreciate it very much. But I'm going to get into trading bots now. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I have done that have really helped me. And, again, I think it's a little, not to say unfortunate, but I don't think everybody is knew this room was here, I guess you could say. But I kind of want to go back to this post that I made. And it was right here. So, May 19th. You can read this. Basically, it says, like, I'm de-risking my bots. And to be clear, the only bots that I closed, and this is like on, if you go back to the chart, right? May 19th was this massive drop. So, like, I caught along off of 34,000. I already explained in Discord all that why I took it. It was preset and it happened. I did not see this coming. So I literally went to sleep. I think I went to sleep at 38,000, 39,000. I'm pretty sure it was like 39,000. And when I woke up, I looked at my phone like I do every morning. I saw that we had hit sub 30K. And I couldn't believe it. Like, I was in disbelief that happened while I was asleep, but that happened that day. Like, I thought it was potential for that to happen, certainly, but not for a while. I was not, I was expecting there to be more warning, I guess you could say. And there definitely was, there wasn't a warning for that move. So I did have a bid fill at 34,000. And I have already, I explained in Discord why I had that bid sitting there. Ended up running it back up. I think my take profit was 41.7, something like that. And I basically, once my take profit one hit, I trailed my stop loss up pretty tight. There's another zone there that I was eyeing, and that got stopped out. But that was a nice trade. I didn't get, I didn't even set bids below 34K because I didn't even think 34K was going to happen. Like, I was like, I'll wake up and, kind of reassess what happened, maybe adjust my bids, whatever. Like, it didn't even give me that chance. I'm lucky that it didn't just keep dropping, because on a move like this, I mean, anything can happen, right? So, but with the trading bots, the update that I gave was on this day. So when I woke up and I saw the devastation that had happened, right? I knew right then and there, and I was also traveling. So this was the day before I left. So like, I knew that I wanted to take some risk out, because the way that like I'm gonna say for my trading bot strategy, but how I run it, I'm very much over leveraged. Like, I definitely run more bots than like the current capital that I have allocated to my bots could handle in an event of something like this, right? So I'll just go back to this for a second so you can read it and kind of talk you through like what my situation was like. And you can kind of compare it to how your situation is or was on that day, and kind of get into my head a little bit about what I did and why I did this. So like, I think this is another, I guess like really this video is going to turn into like a learning video about, so with Ichimoku, it was like, why this, like what the signal told you, what the chart told you, and like what happens when you essentially like when, if you're going to use Ichimoku for an example, what happens when you don't follow the rules, like when you don't do, when you don't enter or exit like the optimal points, right? Like what can happen. So trading bots is very much the same way. And like, there's going to be adjustments that need to happen. This isn't something that you can necessarily run, you know, like to be honest, like with the bots, I had ran it for about a year, and I didn't really like, I did a lot of testing in the beginning. I ran very small amounts. Like I said, for those of you, again, I started with about $5,000. I ran that capital for months. I mean, I think it was at least 4 to 6 months or something. I was just running it, testing it really low. I was using like $10, $20, $10 base order, $20 safety order, and really like coming up with something that I wanted to use, right? Like something that I think, could be ran basically, you know, in most market conditions. And I ran it all the way up until May 19th. And I'll tell you, like, and I was definitely like, as far as being like over, let's say like over leveraged, but running bots with less capital than I need to be fully capitalized for all of the bots. But for the first time, I actually took quite a bit of risk off. So, and it was the bots that were that had closed profitable deals. So I didn't take any losses at all. It's not like I had some bot with 30 safety orders and I just exited out and I was like, I'm done. Like I know, like every bot that I closed its deal. So like when I saw that the market was obviously the market had already. That's the crazy part. So when I woke up in the morning, I think the market was back at like 37,000 or something. I'm trying to like relive this, but the market was back, but it had that monster drop. Like I slept through the entire thing, that whole flush down and the move back up was sleep for the entire time. But back to the bot. So again, all the ones that closed profitable deals, I ended up manually closing, right? Or like setting it to close on the next closure. There were some that were in profit that I just market closed, exited the bot. And again, the reason why, you can read, I literally say this, I'm repositioning my bots because I'm going to be traveling. The volatility was so extreme that I didn't feel comfortable being, I knew that I was literally going to take an entire day to travel from point A to point B. I'm in Hawaii right now. But I knew I was going to be taking, an entire day to be away from the computer. I won't be able to manage my trades. I'm going to be tired, et cetera, et cetera. So I didn't even want to deal with it, right? So I cut the risk down to something where I could literally not care, right? And I'll tell you, like for the trading, for the capital that I use for my trading bots, it's very much like if I lost all of the money that I allocated to my trading bots, it wouldn't bother me. I mean, it would bother, I don't want to say it wouldn't bother me because it makes me sound terrible, but it wouldn't be something that I'd be devastated over. I'd lose like a ton of sleep over, right? If I woke up bag full of alts and it was literally the capital I used for the bots, it wouldn't, I mean, it's whatever. Like, I mean, not whatever, but I'm not that bent out of shape about it, I guess you could say. But the reason why I went through the process of de-risking the bots because I knew that there was a good chance that with the volatility that I was seeing, that things weren't going to be like the bots were going to have a harder time with my current capital that I had allocated towards the bots, right? So the responsible thing for me to do is to do what I did, in my opinion. And I think it saved me a ton of stress, a ton of probably, could have been a ton of money. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know. But, and it's also like I wanted to set a good example for everybody who's in Discord, who happened to see this. I would say I set a good example, but I wanted to, like, I made the adjustments that I did because I think it's important. Like, I know a lot of people look to see what I do, right? Like, a lot of people there, I mean, 10,000 people on Discord or on YouTube, 4,000 people in Discord. I mean, there's a lot of people in Discord that who are using my strategy or using a variation of it, which I've seen like, a lot of people that are tailoring their own strategies. Is phenomenal. Like, it's like, I'm very excited and proud of the community that we're building here. But I wanted to set this room up and kind of talk about what I'm doing in situations like that, because I want people to know, like, there are going to be times of severe volatility, whatever's going on in the market. And it could be the same for the other side of the fence, right? Like, let's say that like the market ripped up $20,000 in a day. Like, am I just going to leave my bots the way that they are? Maybe, but is there changes that I probably would do to capitalize on moves like that? Yes. Like I would probably change my settings or add risk or right. Like there would be changes that I would do to kind of maximize what like how I would want to take advantage of that. So on this move, unfortunately, it's to the downside. I wanted to practice like I wanted to treat my bots like they were very important, like that I need to make sure that like I manage them appropriately because naturally, like the size of the community that we have, I don't like I wanted to try to do my part, I guess I'm saying. But anyway, so I repositioned them. I explained literally why. Volatility, I'm not going to be around. Number one, that's probably the most important thing. I'm not going to be around in my office in front of my computer monitoring price action and checking to see, every 15 minutes or whatever, like how's this spot doing? How's this spot doing? Like I wouldn't have time to do that even if I had time, right? Like because I'm not in front of my computer. But I thought it was a good time to do it because of the volatility, because altcoins were getting hammered. So I thought it was really important to de-risk my bots. And I think I was running 54 bots. I de-risked down to 30, no, 29. So I cut almost half of my bots. I think I closed 25 bots in profit. And like there were ones that were running and they were looking at the market, felt very comfortable that they were going to close deals. So I didn't even bother managing them. I just literally, if you go into the settings and change it to manual, there's a couple different ways you can stop your bots, but I just let it play out. And once the deal closed, bot shut off, another bot down. So I literally de-risked by almost 50%. And I have not added any bots back this entire time because I'm honestly enjoying my vacation quite a bit. But I really I still see like today, geez, look at this, right? Let me open this back up for you. Look at this. This is nasty. Not as bad as it was, a little bit ago, but still red. Alt, red. What's not red? Bitcoin dominance. Okay, which that's another video. Like that's something I want to talk about because I think we're getting a bounce in Bitcoin dominance. Dixie, not red. You get the point. Everything's bleeding, right? Oh, except rep. What I don't know what. Oh wow, is there like a really? Is it just me, or is there like a potential arbitrage opportunity? This is Coinbase, by the way. It's always Coinbase. I'm too tired to bother with this, but arbitrage, I'm just saying you might be able to take advantage of this or not. And I don't remember Coinbase. I think it's a different version of REP. I think it's like V1 and V2 or something. I think I tried to do this one time and it didn't work out for me. But anyway, that's besides the point. Just something that I noticed. But going back to this, so again, like that's why I was going on vacation. I saw that there was tremendous volatility that, in good, and really, so I'll tell you like that $10,000 drop and the $10,000 bounce, like the majority of my bots all closed. Like there's still a couple that haven't closed yet that I haven't tried to manage. And like I very well might have to actually manage those bots. I might have to like manually DCA those bots out of that. And I haven't had to do that before. So like I am perfectly comfortable doing that. I don't mind like adding the funds, but the problem is for the first time, like I might have to actually like do some work and manually DCA them. Okay. But for the volatility and the direction that the market is heading, it's very much not conducive to altcoin gains right now. Right. So that's something that I didn't want to deal with when I'm not even going to be around to deal with. So that's the reason for the de-risking. Part two, another thing to really think about, and like not everybody does what I do, but for those of you who might, and if you're trading on multiple exchanges, this is something to think about. So I'm going to kind of go over this second paragraph here. So I ran out of USDT. I want to rephrase that. So had I not ran out of USDT, I think my bots would have been totally fine, to be honest with you. I think they would have I think I maybe would have one bot that was stuck. Pretty sure. Pretty sure it would have been, and it's UTK. That one's kind of screwed. I think I'm gonna have to look at that one. But I ran out of USDT, and the reason why is because I wasn't balanced. I didn't run out of funds. I ran out of my funds weren't balanced, so I was running more heavy on my USDT bots and I had too much USD. That's basically what happened. So I want to be really clear about that. I didn't run out of funds. Like as far as the allocation, like as far as how much money I was using to cover my bots, right? It wasn't like I ran out of funds. I ran out of the one type of the funds, which hurt because my USDT bots, which are on Binance, very much like got a lot of safety orders weren't able to complete because I didn't have the USDT in there. So I got like the error, insufficient funds, and they weren't able to properly work. And I think that there were some 3 commas errors as well. I'm not entirely sure. Not entirely sure. Wouldn't be too surprised if there were some 3 commas errors during that time. But again, I ran out of USDT. So when I finally woke up and was, trying to process what happened while I was sleeping, because that's that's a pretty rare move. Just so you know, for those of you who are new to crypto, that was a move. That's almost like, to me, that's like coronavirus part 2. Honestly, like it's kind of on that scale. I'm gonna say it wasn't. I think it was like over a 50% drop in one day. That coronavirus crash. I think just in one day it dropped more than 50%. If I remember, this was up there though. Like this is as far as volatility and like brutal moves. This is up there for sure. Like this was like one of those very ultra kind of rare situations that you find yourself in, I would say. But anyway, so again, had the funds issue. So finally, like when I was getting up to speed with the charts, then naturally I started making my plan. Okay, here's what I got to do. This is the next step for me. So I needed to shift some of the USD into USDT and basically refresh the bot so that they could complete the process, so that they can actually close themselves, right? But after, again, so I put here, like basically the market had already, so we had that crazy drop below 30K. And by the time I woke up, it had already brought back, it was already a massive bounce that had happened. But the bots were not able to DCA themselves down, because had they probably would have been closed already. So like that was a big mistake on my part. And I've been pretty lazy, I guess you could say, with making sure that like the bots are all, like the money's allocated properly, as far as, if I have 20 pairs running in USD and 30 pairs, I'm just using this as an example, 30 pairs in USDT, I should have the proper percentage of funds into USDT and the proper percentage of funds into USD. Well, I didn't. I had like way more USD than I had much more USD, and it should have been in USDT. It's kind of the point. But anyway, so I was saying, so there's some monitoring I'm going to have to do with the USDT pairs to get them on track. I'm pretty happy with how the USD pairs. So basically, again, the point was for the USD pairs, they didn't run out of money, so they were able to run through the process. Essentially, like they were able to get themselves out, close the bot, make your profit, and move on, right? And they were opening new deals. But it had plenty of funds. There was a couple USD pairs that were deep in SOs, safety orders at this time, but they all closed, I think. I'm pretty sure they're all still closed. And then just wanted to give you an update. So anyway, really long update on the trading bots, but I thought it was very important to explain why I put this. And by the way, this is all in real time. So this post on the 19th that I did, this was literally in real time. Like what I was saying. So like this, everything that I say in TradeAlt, hashtag TradeAltTA in Discord, I'm literally walking through as I'm doing them, right? So People could have obviously read this if they ended up seeing it. And I didn't want to tag everybody because this room is kind of like it's like an experimental room. I think it's going to be part of something that's coming up, kind of a project that I've been working on. Finally down here, I actually ended up tagging everybody, and I saw really how many people I think missed everything. So I'm sorry, but like the room was here. I thought people knew that this room was all here, but I finally tagged somebody because I thought this was really important. So this was actually it's now yesterday, but I literally wanted to talk about what like as far as for everybody who's running bots, like what I was thinking, right, and kind of my thought process, what had happened, and then as I was typing this out, I was like, I need to do a video and just explain to people like what I meant, right? So this is this video. But anyway, hindsight again, Daily Cloud, basically flawless. Ichimoku was an excellent guide. Should have, whatever. But I wanted to do the video tonight to kind of talk about everything and just to kind of give you guys an update. But again, with the bots, I'm still, so like this is kind of like the final piece. I'm still de-risked. I'm still running, I believe I'm running 29 bots right now. So as far as like whatever happens with those bots, I'm fully covered on those. So I'm not worried about, like they're going to play out how they're going to play out essentially. I'm not running any leverage bots. So like I would say in the current, like right now, I would be okay with running the leverage bots that I have with slightly adjusted settings. I would basically decrease the leverage. That's kind of my point. But for me, like I would be okay with that. But because again, like very much where we're still in a very tentative position, I guess you could say. It's not worth it to me to put the bots on. Like I'm gonna wait another day and kind of like I'm literally taking this day by day. And when I see that things like either have stabilized or like I see some other reason to say, hey, like it's time to like get the bots fully 100% back up like I had them before, I'll definitely let you know in this room. So any adjustments that I do make, I'm gonna put it in this room and like going forward. So whoever has access to this room will be able to see that. Again, everything that I do is gonna be in real time, just like I did with this. Same thing. I posted this talking about what I'm looking at. Obviously, like, when I'm talking about specific levels of interest, I don't just talk about them. Like there's usually a reason why I'm talking about them. It's kind of my point. But like I don't want to become a channel where I literally say enter here, exit here, stop loss here. Like I don't want to do that because it's like there's many reasons why I don't want to do that. But I'd like to share at least when I have particular ideas that I think are possible, levels of interest to me. I don't mind sharing those. But you can kind of like I think I do a pretty thorough job explaining how I would consider trading those levels, I guess you could say. But anyway, that's it. It's been kind of a long video, but I wanted to walk you through recent Bitcoin price action, kind of some learning, honestly, some learning moments. And even myself as a trader, like I'm still learning every day. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that. And like I don't trade the market flawlessly. I have my moments where I feel like I do, right? I feel pretty good, but I definitely still like it's important for me to share and acknowledge that I still have moments where I look back and say, what the hell's wrong with you? Right? Like, what the hell were you doing? Why didn't you do this? Like, it still happens today. I think that the important piece on why I'm able to move forward, acknowledge these mistakes, get better as a trader, and continue to move forward, and like I do pretty well trading, is because I've learned over time. I've been able to like one thing that I have got a lot better about over the years is I don't dwell on losing trades. I don't dwell like losing is part of the game. That's the thing that people don't get, or like it's not that they don't get, it's that they have a hard time. They really have a hard time essentially dealing with, right? It's loss. It's when people take a really bad trade, or if they, it's kind of like what I talked about. That's a bad trade, even though technically, like, like I said, I didn't trade it as well as I should have. It was a bad trade because at that exit point, I definitely lost some value portfolio wise than if I had taken the exit, right? That's still not managing as best as I could have. So that's a learning. It is, still to this day. But at the end of the day, I acknowledge it. I see it as a learning opportunity, and I move on. And I literally say that, here in the last sentence of the message that I sent out to everybody. Basically, like the video that I'm going to do could be a good lesson and refresher for me as well. So it's also good for me to talk through this, because obviously I'm thinking about these things in my head all the time. But I'll tell you one blessing that this YouTube channel has brought to me is the ability to actually verbally communicate, even though I'm talking to myself right now. But it helps me put things out, and it helps me process even my trading differently, I guess you could say, because like I'm actually speaking about what what I'm thinking, if that makes sense. But at the end of the day, the good news is there's always another trade. So let's get back to the charts with a clear mind and crush it. That's literally the mentality that I think is really important to have as a trader. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Hopefully you're going to win more than you lose, but that's the game. You're not going to be perfect. But if you can take the losers, especially the ones that really stand out, this stands out to me as a lost opportunity. In the future, if I'm put in a similar situation, I hope that I learned from this missed opportunity, right? And I hope that I make better decisions down the road. That, obviously you hope they end up being the right decision. But at the end of the day, with the specific Bitcoin price action issue, even if I had sold when it told me to exit, which I'll go back one more time, because I think this is really important. And by the way, it's like 2 a.m. here. Probably get to bed. My kids are going to be up soon. They're gonna wake me up really early. But here's your exit at 53, right? So that's like worst case exit. If that's that's absolute worst case exit. But even if you exit somewhere in here, what are you really missing, right? So if you get this bullish TK recross, that already is the signal to say, holy crap, I sold, I got to get back in. Like this, but you're locking in your profits from all the way down here. Who cares if you miss out on 10%? You made 400. You know what I mean? Like, but it's the mentality of like, sometimes it's hard to to remember all the money you made this entire run up. Here's your signal saying, take your money, great job, look for the next high probability setup, right? But it's up to you to know if, to recognize the signal and actually do something with it. That's the point, right? Because again, had you got another bullish signal, you could have jumped right back in, and maybe you miss out on 10%. Who cares? You already gained 400%. That's the point, right? You already gained, because now, you look at this, and obviously, it's much different. It's much different now, right? And now you're, oh man, I wish I'd done that. Yeah, it doesn't matter because you didn't. But the point is, you risk this much instead of just this much, right? So you literally just risked, this is the missed out, and I would say quote missed gains, right? Whatever it is, wherever this signal would have told me, so you could have made a new all-time high, which I'm not saying I would have jumped back in necessarily right then and there, but really it would have been this bullish TK recross above cloud. If that happened, that I would be 100% comfortable getting back in getting risk back on and trying to push up to much higher levels. But that's kind of, again, just want to talk you through my thought process. Didn't play it out as definitely as well as I should have played it out, as well as I could have, and talk to you about the trading bots and kind of my thought process behind that now. So if you have questions about that, feel free to hit me up in Discord. I'm going to try to be, obviously, I still get tons of DMs or whatnot, but in, hangout room, if you're there, let me tell you, if you're here still listening to me talk at the end of this, I will answer your question. Okay. So, I'll try my best. I am on vacation. I'm going to be on vacation though for another 10 days. I don't get back until the very end of the month. So, I will try my best, but at the end of the day, I wanted to talk to you through kind of what I was, what I was thinking and why I did what I did with the trading bots, because I think that's really important to understand that trading is very fluid. You got to react. And like, even though something's been working flawlessly for damn near basically a year, in a week, it'll literally be a year. Um, you got to be able to make adjustments, you know? And like, I'll tell you, there's going to be a ton more adjustments to be made for sure. And we'll leave it there. I will catch up with you on a different video. Hope you have a great day. Trade safe out there.